Hello and welcome, or welcome back, to the Sales Enablement Festival. I hope you're enjoying the event so far. Today is all about our bonus content, as we are sharing some of the very best presentations from the previous Future of Sales Festival. Speakers will not be joining for live Q&A, however, you can connect with them in the SEC Slack group. Thanks again to all of our sponsors and to you, our attendees, for bringing this event to life. Enjoy the festival.
Thank you, everyone. So this is my first Sales Enablement Summit session, so very excited to be presenting today. I do need to preface this session for anyone who was in sales or is still in sales, or perhaps when my VP of sales watches this back. I love salespeople, and nothing that I'm about to say changes that. Salespeople are great, and I love working with them. That being said, I want to start with a story. So there's two salespeople sitting in the office on a Thursday afternoon finishing their close plans. And now you know it's the start of a joke because salespeople are never in the office and they're never finishing their close plans. But let's say they are. And the first salesperson turns to the second and says, "How was your day?" And the second salesperson says, "Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I had the best meeting. A prospect responded to my outreach and I got that proposal in for that huge opportunity." And the second salesperson says, "Yeah, I didn't sell anything either." So I stole that from the RAIN group, and I needed to say that, from one of their recent reports. And I use it because it highlights something really important. And that is that no matter what measures of success we put to salespeople, whether it be the number of emails they write or the product knowledge that they have, the number of meetings they go to, no matter what measures of success we put in place, we all know that there is one that rules above them all, and that is, making the sale. So what do organizations do to help salespeople make the sale? Well, it does vary, and I have had the opportunity to work at both ends of the spectrum. But what it might include is, for example, a structured onboarding path, some sales and marketing collateral, systems, which we just heard about, CRMs, prospect management tools, LMSs. And it might include a sales process and a sales methodology. And these are two really distinct things and not to be confused. Your sales process is the steps that a sales will follow from beginning to end. And what it supports is the salesperson's favorite thing, forecasting. So this will tell us what are we going to achieve. And it's important to note the sales methodology is quite different. The sales methodology is a set of behaviors, hopefully successful behaviors, more of a sales playbook. It's the how we sell. And that's where we're going to spend our time today. So what's interesting is that sales methodologies have been around for a very long time. They've been around for as long as one person made a pitch and a person standing next to them thought, "I could do that better." And these are some of the classics. So, quick poll. If I put these back up, who has used BANT selling or had, a few. BANT selling, great. Spin selling. Everyone, yay. What about solution selling? Awesome. Okay, so for those who haven't, don't worry. We're not going to have time to go through all of these today, but there is myriad of information online and you can go through and learn all about them. What you might find interesting is that only a very few actually tout specifics, reports, data that prove how they're successful. And those that don't have that information, if you read through them, then encourage their salespeople to always back up their facts. So you need to make sure that you're looking through and finding the core values that these methodologies tout. So I'm sure some of you were hoping that at the 28-minute mark of this session, I was going to say, bang, here's the sales methodology that will work for you. It's not going to happen. The truth is that in a range of situations, in a range of organizations, a number of these sales methodologies could be successful. So what makes them successful is how you find the sales methodology that fits into your organization and then how well you implement it. So when looking at how you try and find a sales methodology that fits your organization, we need to look at a few things and remember that one size does not fit all. So first thing I have to do is look at my sales process. And if my sales process looks like this, I need to decide, what am I trying to improve by implementing a sales methodology? Because if I'm looking at, say, improving my negotiation, if I've decided that that's what's stalling my sales from moving forward, then maybe I could read one of these or run or attend a negotiation training in Sydney, and there are quite a few. There's 6.5 million results on Google for negotiation training in Sydney. So you've got some options. What you'll find with the sales methodologies is that quite a few of them actually focus on that earlier stage, that qualification, the pitch, the presentation stage with the customer. And we need to ask, what parts of the business am I going to impact when I implement my sales methodology? So, for example, and I know it says it, but for example, if my sales methodology that I choose says every single time you meet a prospect, you need to take a case study, then I am going to need marketing and customer success and anyone else in my organization who does case studies to have a number of those on hand. And if my sales methodology that I choose says you must be on social, I'm going to need social content. I'm going to need perhaps a technology platform by which my AEs can actually send out that social. And I'm saying that not because I think AEs will find any excuse not to follow your methodology, but I will say that it is so important to bring those parts of the business on board. So I'm asking questions like, which part of my sales process am I trying to improve? I'm asking, what parts of the business am I going to impact? And I'm asking, how am I going to train them on this? And it's a huge question. Am I going to do it during onboarding? And if I do, is that a huge investment because I actually have serious turnover in my first 3 months? Am I going to need ongoing training? And hint, yes, you will. You will absolutely need ongoing training. And am I going to embed this into a technology or a process that I already have? So how does that change the way that they do things now? And is this going to be a seamless transition? So then I have to think, okay, well, which of these methodologies will deliver success? And the truth is, as I said, a lot of them can. And the reason a lot of them can is in their inherent similarities. I'm not saying they're all the same. I'm just saying there are some core basics that are a part of a lot of sales methodologies. So I'm going to take a look at two, and I have decided to pick on Sandler and Challenger just because I know them both. So this is the Sandler Sales Submarine, and that's legit theirs, that's not mine. The Sandler Sales Submarine that talks through bonding and rapport, quite simple. It talks to becoming the trusted advisor. It talks about upfront contracts, a really Sandler specific, if anyone's done it, upfront contracts. It's a mutual agreement between yourself and the other party to keep moving forward in the process. The pain. So for those who put their hand up for Sandler, this is the pain funnel, the question after question after question until you uncover the true need, the true desire of the business, and then offering a relevant solution. It's about understanding budgets. What is it? When's it available? Who's going to make the decision on the next line? And what's their criteria? What's their process? Fulfillment, making sure that you see through what you offered. And then, of course, your post-sell. So ensuring that it's implemented correctly and maintaining that relationship. So that's the Sandler Sales Submarine. And I'm going to look at that in comparison to the Challenger Sale. So the Challenger Sale has the 4 key ideas of teaching, tailoring, taking control, and constructive tension. So teaching for differentiation, ensuring that you come to the conversation with an insight, with an idea, read, trusted advisor, that you tailor your messaging so you ensure that it's relevant to the person you're talking to, and that might just be at the organization level or the industry or the role or the person themselves. That you take control, and similarly back to Sandler, this is trying to make sure you understand and help move along budgets, decisions, fulfillment, and processes. And then lastly, this idea of constructive tension, which is making sure that we're compelling the prospect to act now, that we're ensuring they understand why that's important. But there is this kind of challenger misnomer, and the misnomer goes that challenger says teaching and taking control is more successful than relationship selling. But when you go a level up, when you step back from challenger, what it actually says is that you can't only sell on relationships. And in fact, what you should do to build that relationship is to have insight and to share knowledge. And that's how the challenger sale maybe differs a little bit from Sandler. So comparing the pair here, we've both got, or they both have, deep effective research required, questioning or understanding, finding the core issue of the customer, presenting a relevant solution to that problem, and understanding the detail and processes that you're going to need to follow. So they're quite similar in some of those core basics. And then Challenger has this extra step or this extra layer of the Challenger choreography that, really creates a story that you're going to tell your customer. And it's to help them imagine the world that they'll be in once they've through your product or they've purchased your service. So an example would be if I was going to pitch for you guys to come to this session today. So obviously a successful pitch because you're all here. But if you weren't yet, it might say something like, come and join a hopefully fun and informative session where we'll talk about the comparisons between some of the sales methodologies and understand how to successfully implement them in your organization. With Challenger, that might be, imagine the confidence you will feel after attending this session when you return to work tomorrow with a clear, defined vision of what you need to build a strong sales enablement strategy that will drive your team to success. Now, I'm not saying one's better than the other, but it shows that while the core values are the same, sometimes they have a little bit different focus or a different delivery, and that's okay. Lastly, I'm going to look at the new solution selling. This is not the old solution selling, which was declared dead by a Harvard Business Review in 2012. This is the new solution selling, and it might have some inherent similarities, but it's been rebranded and there's some new graphics. And one of those is this table. And it kind of uses this idea of three types of questions being open questions, control questions, and confirm questions, and to use those to talk through pain, impact, and solution, which kind of sounds similar to what we've just been talking about. So this isn't the whole solution. There's a little bit more, but I think what we can say is that there are some core basics to any sales methodology, and they might be, you need to know something about your customer before you speak to them. And it sounds really simple, but it's in almost every one. So someone somewhere way back when sold a pencil eraser to a pen factory or something, because it's everywhere. The second would be, you must become the trusted advisor, which is one of my favorite terms. But a Forbes article touted specifics. 74% of buyers choose to work with a sales rep that was first to add value and insight. And 94% of B2B decision makers seek out sales teams that exhibit specific insights into their company problems. We have, you need to know or uncover and then verbalize why your customer needs your offering, and you should be able to articulate the value the customer will receive by proceeding. Lastly, you will have a higher likelihood of success if you understand both your customer's process to buy and your company's process to sell. So looking at that, it's almost like we've built a new sales methodology here today. Jane's Juggernaut, trademark pending. James Juggernaut says that you need to justify your customers giving you their time by being well-researched and well-prepared, that you need to ask the questions you need to understand the key problem, issue, or pain, that you should yield the floor and listen more than you speak until you understand what your customer needs. Slightly cheated here on the know the process, understanding who's making the decision, budgets, process, fulfillment, etc. And lastly, to evangelize your solution, ensure they understand why yours is the only option. So all I need now is a new book, right? Jane's Juggernaut. It's the most newest of the best sales methodology solutions. On sale later today. So let's say that through your sales methodology journey, you're looking at all these things. What I encourage you to do is to really read between the lines of some of these sales methodologies, and especially kind of as you were saying before, if you have a vendor coming to you with a sales methodology, weed through the superfluous language, understand the core values of that sales methodology, and match that to your business needs. So let's say you chose Jane's Juggernaut, which is absolutely the right decision and obviously meets your needs. So how are you going to implement it? It's a tough question, right? So it does cross over a little bit with when you're choosing your sales methodology. And first it's like, okay, well, how am I going to implement it? What part of the sales process am I going to inject my methodology into? I'm going to look at which other parts of the business are going to be impacted. I'm going to try and get them on board. And then how am I going to measure success of a methodology? And this in itself is a 3-part question. So there is measuring success for the organization, and it's all in the numbers. Your assessment has to be so specific to the part of the sales process that you chose, or the method cannot be held responsible if you fail. So in our example earlier, if I was choosing that it's the early stages, the qualification stage, that I'm looking to try and improve, well, then my measurement needs to be, have I moved more sales between stage 2 and stage 3 than I did last year? Not did I increase overall sales? And the reason being that Jane's Juggernaut will not be held responsible if your organization has this lengthy contract process that locks customers in for 5 years. That can't be on the methodology. So just ensure that you're being specific at the organization level. And then you have, are my AEs any good at it? And first line, get ready for a fight here, because you need to see them do it to know if they're any good at it. And the only ways to do that are really to shadow them doing it or role play them doing it, which is hugely popular. And they'll say it's contrived, it's unnatural, it takes me away from my real job. And I think they misunderstand that being able to deliver an effective sales presentation is their real job. So we need to make sure that we're messaging correctly why we're doing these types of assessments, because it is what is going to help you understand if your methodology is successful. And then there is the last and the toughest one, which is how am I going to know if they're even doing it once I've assessed if they're any good at it? And it's only in the sales managers. Its only option is to use the sales managers, because they are in one-on-ones, they are in the field, and they should always be coaching to close. And depending on the organization you're in, they're likely compensated on the outcome of the sales of their AEs. So they have skin in the game. Utilize those people as best you to help get a successful implementation. So far we have an overview of a couple of the key sales methodologies, some questions you need to consider when choosing one, some considerations for a successful implementation, a new book to buy, and you're thinking, is it all worth it? Yes, it can absolutely be worth it. So when a sales methodology is implemented correctly, it can deliver common language, streamlined onboarding, tracking and comparing of performance, and a structure to your coaching.
Okay.
So in a common language, we have to consider, depending on the size of your organization, that you have a range of sales support staff. And I include myself as a sales support staff. We have solutions consultants, pre-sales, service leads, customer success, industry leads, the managers. We might also have marketing in some of those meetings. So what a common language does is allow all of these parties to have a unified front when preparing for meetings. It allows them to deliver the same type of messaging out to the customer and a consistent message for the customer when they're dealing with your organisation. It provides streamlined onboarding. So onboarding without a sales methodology can absolutely be well structured. It's a little bit easier to test. It can focus on the products and services that you offer. But onboarding with a methodology, it can still be well structured and you can still cover your products and services, but you can also then align on the positioning to the market and set some really clear expectations about what you expect of your AEs once they leave the onboarding room. And what that hopefully means is that when your new AE first goes into their new account, is that they're not talking about products and services, but are in fact talking about the value that you will add to their business. Then we have tracking and comparing performance. So I said earlier, the bottom line is making the sale. I stand by it. The methodology we've identified is successful behaviours that you believe will help them make the sale. So it's similar to tracking activity. Just like a salesperson needs to write emails, go to meetings, phone clients, they also need to be well-informed, knowledgeable, and be able to manage a deal to close. And structured coaching. So as I said, sales managers are integral to the success of implementing your sales methodology because it gives them a structured approach. They have to know what it is. They have to understand why they're using it and what value it's going to deliver. But the sales managers should always be coaching their team. And when we provide them with a structured view of what good looks like, it helps them to achieve that goal of structured coaching. Long-term success, all in the coaching. So the big question then remains, will a sales methodology save my team or distract them? And so everything that I've talked about today, I imagine you're going, well, from what you've said, it's going to save my team. Where's the distraction? Well, the distraction comes in trying to fit a very structured set of behaviours into a group of individuals that have their own personality, their own style, and their own way of doing business. And so you have to consider, how am I going to not take a one-size-fits-all approach and not try and put my square salespeople into a round methodology hole? So my final thought is, if you take away process and competitors and budgets and all of that, if you in the audience were presented with two seemingly similar products that you both needed and had money to buy, if the only difference was in the sales interaction, is that what would sway you? So if you were presented with someone who was perhaps overly rehearsed or rigid and was following, a checklist of questions, and you had someone else who was seemingly interested in your business, real and genuine, is that what would tip the edge? What we're saying is that you need to find a way within your sales methodology to let your salespeople be their genuine selves, because an original is always worth more than a copy. So as you go through both choosing and implementing your sales methodology, please make room for your salespeople to be themselves. That's it. Thank you. So close. I was very close.
Any questions from the floor? Yeah. What sort of incentives
In getting AEs to follow the sales methodology? Yeah. So it's actually kind of obvious, but what I have found works is appealing first to their competitive nature. So not pitting them against each other by any standard, but once you have one or two present, and I think we were talking about this before, but one or two people present, the next person's like, well, I want to show that I can do it too. And appealing to their competitive nature works. I have absolutely used wine vouchers and dinner vouchers, but all in the goal of trying to make sure that everyone has a go, that we can kind of get an understanding of where each one's at, because it gives me an opportunity to then decide where best spend my time. Yeah, applause. Well, thank you. Thank you. Great. Oh,
any other questions? Yes.
Awesome presentation. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm experiencing that companies have their own sales methodologies these days, which is just an amalgamation of
all the others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone has been through that training and wants to impart on the business and vice versa. So,
Yeah.
how are you getting everybody on the same page?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've done this too. I've had this too. And I think what you face is that people want to use what they're comfortable with and what they know. The key is, yes, getting everyone on board, but the way I've tried to do that is by making them feel a little overwhelmed with all the things you need to support a sales methodology. So, yeah, sure, if you want to use, I'm going to use an opportunity one, but like MedPick, sure, we can do that. I'm just going to need you to write because I've not done it. So can you write the onboarding materials and have you been able to create a structured, is that working? And what makes you think that would work any better? What's your data set? So, it's all well and good with this idea of comfortability, but one of the key benefits of using the core ones and getting everyone to agree on one is that they do have a lot of resources behind them instead of trying to build your own. And if you can get everyone on the same page, then they can step away from it, right? You're not going to necessarily ask too much of them except for them to support it moving forward.
Thank
Great.
you. Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you. Well done.